Ethan had always been the kind of man who quietly carried the weight of his world, never letting anyone see how heavy it truly was. That evening, as he pushed open the door of the warm, softly lit restaurant, the last thing he felt was warmth. Instead, he felt the sting of embarrassment tightening in his chest as he looked down at the crumpled $50 bill in his hand, the only money he had left after rent, groceries, and his daughter Mila's school needs. It wasn't enough for a place like this, and he knew it. Yet, he still showed up, because a small part of him believed he deserved at least one moment for himself, one chance to feel normal again. Every step he took toward the table felt like stepping into a world he didn't belong to, a reminder of everything he lacked. But beneath that discomfort was something stronger, a stubborn thread of hope. Maybe this blind date could be a fresh start. Maybe, just maybe, life still had room for small miracles. And even though doubt whispered otherwise, Ethan held on to that fragile belief, not knowing how profoundly his life was about to change. Clara Wynne had come to the restaurant that night simply looking for a quiet corner to escape her own thoughts. Being the CEO of a rapidly growing wellness company meant she was constantly surrounded by people, constantly making decisions, constantly appearing strong. But loneliness has a way of finding even the most successful hearts, and she felt its familiar tug as she settled into her seat. Then her eyes drifted toward Ethan. She didn't know him, had never seen him before, yet something about the way he sat there caught her attention. It wasn't pity that made her watch him, it was curiosity, a gentle pull she couldn't quite explain. She noticed the way he smoothed the creases on that worn $50 bill, as if trying to convince himself he belonged in that elegant room. She saw the rehearsed smile he practiced, the kind people wear when they're trying not to fall apart in public. His tired eyes spoke of long days and even longer nights, the kind only single parents truly understood. But what stood out the most was his quiet dignity. Even in discomfort, even in uncertainty, Ethan held himself with a kind of grace that made Clara pause, realizing this stranger carried a story worth knowing. Minutes slipped by, and each one felt heavier than the last as Ethan sat alone at the table meant for two. He kept checking his phone, refreshing the screen as if a message might magically appear, an apology, a delay, anything. But there was nothing. Just silence. The kind of silence that settles into your chest and makes you feel smaller with every passing moment. Around him, couples laughed, forks clinked softly against plates, and life carried on without noticing the man whose hope was slowly deflating. Eventually, Ethan let out a quiet breath and signaled the waiter, trying to hide the embarrassment creeping up his neck. He forced a half smile and said he would only take a glass of water, that he wouldn't be staying long. It was all he could afford anyway. But when he reached for his wallet to pay even for that simple drink, the waiter gently stopped him. He placed a small folded card on the table and said the bill had already been handled. Confused, Ethan opened it with trembling fingers. The note read, "Everyone deserves kindness." No name, no explanation. Just pure, unexpected humanity, and a warmth he hadn't felt in a very long time. The next morning, just as the faint light of dawn crept through the curtains, Marcus heard an unexpected knock at the door. He wasn't used to visitors, especially not this early, so he opened it cautiously. Standing there was a tall man in a sharp coat, someone Marcus had only ever seen on television or in newspaper headlines. Beside him stood the same elderly couple from the diner, their eyes warm with recognition. The man introduced himself as William Carter, a well-known millionaire whose name carried weight far beyond their small town. But in that moment, he wasn't a businessman or a famous figure, he was someone deeply moved by a story of quiet generosity. He told Marcus that the couple had shared everything, how the boy had given away the only meal he had without expecting anything in return. Carter looked at Marcus with a sincerity that cut through the morning chill, acknowledging a rare kind of heart that can't be taught or bought. It was kindness noticed by the world at last. In the weeks that followed, Ethan found himself stepping into a life that finally felt manageable, maybe even hopeful. Clara's foundation didn't just offer him help, it offered him room to breathe. For the first time in years, he wasn't choosing between overtime shifts and spending time with Mila. Affordable childcare meant he could drop her off without guilt, knowing she was safe and cared for. Better job opportunities meant he could provide for her without constantly worrying about the next bill or the next unexpected expense. Slowly, the tension he carried in his shoulders began to ease. Mila noticed it too. She laughed more, slept better, and hugged him a little tighter each morning before school. She seemed lighter, as if she could sense her father's burdens lifting. And Ethan, after so many years of scraping by, started to rediscover pieces of himself he'd forgotten: confidence, rest, even joy in small moments. What surprised him most was that Clara didn't just vanish after helping. She checked in, asked about Mila, asked about him. Not as a CEO, not as a benefactor, but as someone who genuinely cared. And with every conversation, Ethan felt a new chapter opening in his life, one he never imagined he'd get to live. What began as an unexpected act of kindness slowly became something deeper, something neither of them had planned but both of them felt growing quietly between the moments. Clara continued to stop by, sometimes with a check-in, sometimes with a warm conversation that stretched longer than either of them intended. Ethan found that talking to her came naturally, like speaking to someone who didn't just hear him but understood the spaces between his words. Mila warmed up to her too, greeting her with the effortless affection only children can give. Over time, the three of them found a rhythm: small outings, shared laughter, simple conversations that somehow felt meaningful. Ethan noticed that Clara's confidence softened when she was around them, revealing a side of her that didn't need to be a CEO or a leader, just a woman trying to connect. And Clara saw in Ethan a steadiness she rarely found in her world, a man who valued honesty, humility, and love in its purest form. Friendship became familiarity, familiarity became connection, and connection quietly blossomed into love, the kind that feels earned, gentle, and healing. Sometimes the love we never expect becomes the love that finally sets us free.